Good afternoon. Um, Thought about tidying myself up a bit today. I'm doing a webinar after this, and my friend, colleague, interviewer is a very glamorous lady. I must have better sort of step up to the mark, especially since it's been blowing a gale here, really blowing a gale, pouring down with rain, and I've been in and out with logs. Just had to pick a worm up off the floor. God knows where that came from, probably off my boots, I think. And I thought, this is, well, it would be realistic. It would be how I am. But I thought, no, I'll go and have a wash, which I do regularly. I thought tidying myself up a bit. And it's interesting thinking about this webinar, which one is. So one of my friends here said, that's a funny name, isn't it? I mean, technology isn't to the fore here in rural France. And there's some more recent technology, which I think is even stranger, that's now got Corona, in the title. And my friend, so it's Isadora in Greece, said, well, I'll prepare the questions for you. Now, that's often said to me before I do a webinar. And I said, no, thank you. I don't want the questions beforehand. And she said, but I need them for me, for her. And it's interesting how much we can rely on notes and scripts and so on. Of course, sometimes it's very appropriate. And one of the definitions, what NLP is about being real time. It's about developing sensitivity and flexibility to achieve an outcome. And that's probably one of the most important skills we need in the world today, the ability to adapt, to improvise when the unexpected happens. And the unexpected has happened and is happening most of the time. And so if we are reliant on things, our life, our circumstances, our environment being a certain way, then that's going to be very uncomfortable. And it is very uncomfortable, I know, for many people. If, however, we have this ability to flex and to adapt and respond to the feedback that we get in the moment, then we can show up. We show up in a very different way to the way that we show up if we are reliant on notes. And I have just said to Isadora, okay, no notes, no prepared questions, no questions to me. I don't want to know them, because it's the responding in the moment that has I could make an absolute fool of myself with the things I say. That's the risk. That's the truth of it, if that's what happens. It's a preparedness to just be yourself, so that the preparation for whether it's a webinar, a course, or a coaching session is drawn from how you're living your life, not from what notes you write in the moment. If you can write the notes, then you've got it in you anyway, and it's having the ability to draw on that in the moment. I was thinking about, how, for example, I think if you go back, let's say 10 years, probably most TV shows, sort of entertainment shows and so on, the compares were scripted. I think, until fairly recently, if you take Strictly Come Dancing, for example, which some of you may have seen, that there was an older host guy called Bruce Forsyth on there, very, very good, very talented, very traditional presenter. And he would clearly be making his jokes, sort of scripted, pre-prepared. And I've noticed there's another couple, and I know I'm talking about people who are probably known more in the UK than anywhere, but a couple called Ant and Dec, who used to, and they do a program called I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here in the Jungle, which I think is held in most countries, broadcast in most countries. And I've noticed that they've started to kind of use more scripted lines, whereas I think their talent is in their ability to improvise. And so when you are coaching and training and doing webinars or whatever else, the opportunity is to rock up as you are and respond in the moment. And then you have the experience of the dynamic. If there's an interview, for example, there's the experience of the dynamic between the two. It isn't a prepared question and a thought about answer. There's like what happens in the moment. And I find that so much more electric when it's good than if things are prepared beforehand. So when I'm off, and it's interesting, I've just been asked if I would think about a contribution to a worldwide, a global project about developing trust in organizations, believing that that's really fundamental to the future of the way that we work. And I like to think, I believe I do, create an environment of trust in the trainings that I run. But don't do it explicitly. I don't believe I talk about that explicitly. It's about it happens. And so to be able to trust situations and other people, you first of all have to be willing to trust yourself. And I would say that the accompanying belief for that is that there's no failure, only feedback. That you are prepared to, that I am, that you are prepared to let go beyond your ego and be who you are and let that stand. That's a fundamental piece I learnt from Frank Farrelly with the provocative coaching, with the provocative therapy that he did. He never apologized for anything he said. He never retracted anything that he said. He let it stand. He would say something, and sometimes people didn't like it, and he would take that as feedback. He would absorb it, and it was that quality of just being prepared to be present with how he was in that moment and let it be. And that was, for all the things that he said, the things that he was an example of were so much more revealing and influential, certainly for me. So I think in about, we are going to have a bit of, just check I can connect to the system for the webinar. We're going to connect a little bit earlier than the webinar itself. As it's on Instagram Live. So we shall see. And that makes it exciting. That makes it kind of, a little, I'm on the edge of it for that. And that has a quality that if I know what I'm going to say. I'm going to say this to the, and the beauty in coaching, for example, is that you're there 100% for the person. You show up 100% when you are reliant on who you are, as opposed to what you thought you might say beforehand. So, what situations could you, or do you, show up 100%? And what situations don't you do that currently? And that you could begin to experiment